in Romans 1:20, it says, since the beginning of creation, God's eternal qualities, his divine nature, and eternal power have been clearly seen through what has been made, so that man is without excuse. So we have no excuse not to believe in God. And we're fixing to see evidence of that on this table right here. So the first thing we're going to talk about are deer. This would be a very symmetrical rack. It's got 4 points on each side. It's an 8-point deer. This is what hunters are looking for. So the number of points is determined by anything you can hang a ring on. So this one's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that would be an 8-point buck. So, in about 3 weeks, the rut is going to start. That's the breeding season for deer. And if you're out walking around in the woods, you might see scrapes where they're made of scrape and they've peed in it, and then the does will come along and then they'll pee in it, and then the buck will track the does, and we have more baby deer. In about the end of February or March, there's a joint. Antlers and horns are not the same. Deer have antlers, cows have horns. There's a joint right here that about that time, after the breeding season, their testosterone level, they've done lots of study on this, the testosterone level drops real low, and this joint will dry up and these will fall off. And those are called sheds. So if you want to find sheds, such as this, you can see where it dried up and just fell off. And sometimes they'll fall off at the same time, but not usually. Because you'll find one and then you have to really look to find the other one. But they're not too far apart. So people spend a lot of time looking for these sheds because then they know what deer are in their area and where to hunt next. These are deer jawbones. You can age deer by their teeth, the wear on the teeth, and you can, as you see, that's kind of got a slant to it, and that one's got a slant to it. Buddy did a project on this when he was in school and collected a bunch of jawbones. So I talked about antlers, and I'm going to talk about horns. This is a, take that off. This is a cow skull. I was deer hunting one day and a cow had been dug off in the woods, and I collected the bones. I've got all the vertebrae hanging up in my nature center. The interesting thing is, at some point, I bought this. This is a water buffalo horn. So there are lots of places that people use water buffalo to pull plows and to work and to do all kinds, plus they eat them. And I bought this and I wondered, how did they get all that carved out? Mountain men would use these for powder horns. They'd cut a hole here. And then I was over there one day looking, and I got to looking at this cow skull, and I thought, so this is keratin. I did some study on it. This is keratin. This is like our fingernails. So it's like the fingernails are attached to the bone beneath it. The horn is attached to this with blood vessels that have helped this grow. But when they die, all that dries up. So you can pull the keratin off. This is the cow's jawbone. I think the story was about Samson that killed a bunch of people with the jawbone of a donkey. So you could see how this could really be a weapon. You could really do some knocking about with that. Moving on. This is a beaver skull. So they've got quite impressive teeth. And it enables them to do this to wood. So if you're around where there are beavers active, you're going to see wood chewed like this. You see both ends. One of the main diet of a beaver is tree bark. So they stripped a lot of things like this. There's a stick I found where they had stripped every bit of bark. This is privet hedge. They seem to really like privet hedge. You see the teeth marks in it. And then I was fishing somewhere and looked up on the bank and saw a bunch of these. And I went up and those were the shavings. Can you imagine how sharp those teeth would be to pull off shavings like that? So they're really, that's why they cut the tree down in the night. They can really pour it off. Pine cones. This is what a pine cone looks like when it falls off a tree. And it falls off and disperses its seeds. There were little seeds inside all of these. But squirrels will climb to the top of a tree, cut the pine cones off when they're green, run down to the ground, and this is what you get. They eat all the seeds. I was thinking about animals and squirrels, and I walked right down there, picked up these pine cones, and found these with them.
No idea.
So, another thing that happens a lot of times, these sheds that fall off, squirrels will eat them up for you. If you don't get them quickly, squirrels will eat them. You see all that's squirrel damage. So they've got sharp little teeth. We've got horses. Horse's tail. I trim horses on the side, trim horses' feet. I was trimming a horse one day for a friend of mine, and he'd gotten a stick or something in here at some point, and he kept whacking me in the head with this tail. And I said, that tail's got to go. And I pulled my knife out. So he said, you can't cut his tail off, can you? I said, well, a horse's bone is about that long, and then all the hair comes out of that. So I just cut the part where the hair was. But moving along. This is a wild boar skeleton. So if you look very carefully, this joint is what's impressive, is the way that all fits together so that it closes, but it's made so that when these teeth come together, it's real close. So every time they open and shut their mouth, they're sharpening those tusks. That's why they can do so much damage. Because you see, as those teeth are growing, and those top teeth are impacting those bottom teeth, it's getting them real sharp. Armadillo. I ride a bicycle a lot, so lots of stuff I pick up in the road. I've got a new bike that I've got a little satchel in where I can pick stuff up and take it back home with me. There's two different types of armadillos. There's a 7-band and a 9-band. And I'm not sure if I got all of this. Has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So apparently this was a 7-banded. Armadillos are the only mammal other than human that can carry leprosy. So that doesn't, and actually I think they use the armadillos to come up for the vaccine against leprosy. So very seldom you see that, but armadillos can have leprosy. Try not to handle them too much. So this was a collection of a bunch of stuff that the guy gave me. This is a fossilized deer print. Isn't that neat? So apparently the deer died at some point, and then there was a lava flow or something that covered it up and created a fossil. At Easter, who do we talk about? Peter Cottontail? There's Peter's Cottontail. A rabbit's tail has a bone in it, but rabbit skin is real tender. You can just about clean them with your bare hands. You can just pull them apart. But the tail will just pull right off the bone. So this was, I was going to feed horses one day, and rabbit had been run over in the road, and I borrowed his tail because he didn't need it anymore. So when we bought the barn over there that we now call the annex, I was cleaning it out. fossilized rat. We've worked down to the last thing. And these are freshwater mussels. A lot of people don't realize that we have freshwater mussels, particularly in rivers. Chattahoochee River is full of them. But there's two different types. There's a small, and then there's a large. Mary Ann Denny's folks' little pond over there. I was fishing over there one day, and Pike was with me, and he brought this up, and he said, "Where'd that come from, Papa?" It's a seashell. And I said, "I believe that's just a different type of freshwater mussel." And I looked it up, and it is. So I guess these are more native to ponds, but you very seldom see them around here. But, so Marie and I used to kayak a lot and still do occasionally, but when you're going down the Chattahoochee River, if the water's down, you'll see holes in the bank, and those would be muskrat holes. And outside that muskrat hole, it'll be a whole pile of these. So I paddled over there one day and just got handfuls where they picked them up. They're on rocks or in the bottom of the river. Take them back up in front of their den, open them up, and that's what they eat.
For dinner.
So
That's cool.
that, and this underlying here is ornamental banana bush leaf and the bloom. We're going to get into next week's lesson about vegetation, leaves and trees and such as that. And this is a Japanese lantern, which is a beautiful. Marie's really into these. And if I remember correctly, this is in the maple family. You see that leaf
Oh,
looks
yeah.
just like a maple leaf. Well, that concludes our discussion about animals.